evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, we expected a slow news output this evening. It's Friday, but that's not what happened. There's a torrent of it. If you're watching this from a restaurant, have the bartender turn up the volume. It's worth it. First, we've got new security footage that shows details of the FBI's pre-dawn raid on Roger Stone's house in South Florida. 3 separate cameras captured all of it. From the moment that Robert Mueller's PR team from CNN arrived with a tripod to Roger Stone's arrest at gunpoint. You won't believe the T-shirt Stone was wearing when they cuffed him. We're staying for that. And then lunatics in the Congress have a brand new plan to destroy our economy and drive America into darkness and poverty. It's called the Green New Deal, and we'll talk to one of its supporters in just a second. Also, the media are supposed to hold the powerful to account. That's what they always tell you. If that's true, why are they sucking up to the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos? Why are they calling him Bezos Bear? Because he's the world's richest man. We've got hilarious details in a second. But first tonight, more chaos in the beleaguered Commonwealth of Virginia. That state's Democratic governor and attorney general, as you know, have both admitted to blackface scandals. One of them has been called upon by Democratic luminaries to resign. Neither one has shown any intent to leave office. Now, that state's slippery lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, has been accused of rape for the second time by a second woman. New allegations just hours ago. Fairfax says he's not resigning either. For the latest on the glowing fireball of insanity that is Virginia Democratic politics, Fox's Ellison Barber is live outside the State House in Richmond, Virginia. Ellison?
Hi, Tucker. Calls for the lieutenant governor to resign are growing tonight. It's difficult to keep track of how many people have now come forward and said that he needs to step aside. All of this after a second woman came forward detailing a second sexual assault that she claims happened with Justin Fairfax. A Virginia state delegate says if the lieutenant governor does not resign by the end of the weekend, he will introduce articles of impeachment on Monday. The lieutenant governor is denying all of the allegations against him. In a statement, he said this, quote, "I have never forced myself on anyone ever. I demand a full investigation into these unsubstantiated and false allegations." He called the claims part of a vicious and coordinated smear campaign. According to a press release from the law firm Smith Mullen, they are representing a woman named Meredith Watson, who says she was raped by now Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax in 2000 when they were both students at Duke University. The statement says, quote, "Mr. Fairfax's attack was premeditated and aggressive. There were the two were friends but never dated or had any romantic relationship." The lieutenant governor was optimistic this morning, briefly speaking to reporters as he headed to preside over a legislative session in the Virginia Senate, saying, "We will have our say. I am confident in the truth." Tonight, in a statement, he is defiant and clearly says, "I will not resign," even though a lot of Democrats now want him to. Senator Cory Booker tweeted this, quote, "The multiple detailed allegations against the lieutenant governor of Virginia are deeply troubling. They are serious, credible, and corroborated by others. It is no longer appropriate for him to serve. He should resign." And now attorneys for this second victim, they have come out with a new statement saying that the lieutenant governor is trying to smear their client. They say they had heard that he had told various members of the media that she is crazy and that she had been the victim of a prior rape. They say that it is true that she was the victim of a prior assault, but they say that Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax actually used that prior assault, which she reportedly had told him about, in order to justify the assault that he allegedly perpetrated. They say the pair had one encounter after the alleged assault in 2000 at a campus party, and this is from the statement here. She left a campus party when he arrived and he followed her out. She turned and asked, "Why did you do it?" Mr. Fairfax answered, "I knew that because of what happened to you last year, you'd be too afraid to say anything." We've reached out to the lieutenant governor's office on this new statement. So far, Tucker, we have not heard back.
Hard to remember a seedier story than this one. Ellison Barber, thank you very much from Richmond for us tonight. So what's going to happen to the 3 top-ranking elected Democrats in the Commonwealth of Virginia? And more broadly, what's the standard for the rest of us in the wake of this scandal? Chris Hahn is a progressive radio show host, and he joins us tonight. Chris, thanks a lot for coming on. And I should just say, and I mean this sincerely, I don't know the truth of the allegations against Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, and I think he is due, as we all are, the right to explain himself and to have this adjudicated by some impartial body. So I'm not passing judgment on him or his accuser. I'm passing judgment on the self-appointed defenders of women who just a couple of months ago jumped up and down and told us that Brett Kavanaugh deserved to be in prison because we must believe all women, and yet they're dismissing these women. They clearly don't believe them. Where's Mazie Hirono? Where's Kirsten Gillibrand in all of this? What's the answer?
Well, I don't know that they've dismissed this woman. I sure haven't. It seems to me like he's toast, like he's done. There'll be an investigation, but he's not surviving this. These women seem credible to me. The stories seem chilling, and we should all be appalled by it. Now, should this turn out to be some sort of real political hit job, which I don't think it is, then maybe he survives. But barring that, his career is over and he needs to resign. Now, I know we have two other Democrats in top positions in Virginia who also have issues that we need to deal with. And I have already called for the governor to resign on this show last week, and I am not taking that back. I think his statements on Saturday made it worse than they were on Friday night. And we'll see what people think about the attorney general. But I think people need to be consistent when they make calls for things.
Well, I think that's you're taking agree or disagree, you're taking a position that is undergirded by integrity. I mean, consistency is right. I'm just a little, just as an American, I think I'm most disgusted by this Mark Herring character, the chief law enforcement officer in the state of Virginia, purely because of the hypocrisy. He jumps up and down when he finds out that the governor has this yearbook in blackface, and then it turns out that he appeared in blackface too. So why shouldn't he resign?
Yeah.
That's the most confusing part of this to me.
Look, I think he came out and he apologized, and I think maybe, we might determine that he should resign. He was 19 years old, and he did something really stupid and, quite frankly, offensive and racist that should not be tolerated in this country. So we'll see what his fate holds. The people of Virginia should ultimately be able to make.
Well, you're absolutely right. No, you make a fair point.
There should be some sort of petition to get rid of him.
Okay, but that's not the standard. Look, I think voters should make all these decisions, and if someone commits a crime in office, impeach him. We have a method for removing people who shouldn't be serving, and it's not Twitter. My question is about the standards that the Democratic Party applies to the rest of us. So Northam did something that was beyond the pale, and Cory Booker and all these other totally false, self-righteous chest beaters who really have no reason to lecture the rest of us about how to live, I would say. But I'm serious. I live here, okay? But the point is, they don't apply the same standard to this guy because they don't want the seat to wind up in Republican hands. That's the actual truth, as you know.
Look, something needs to be said for the voters of Virginia who chose 3 Democrats for statewide office, and something has to be done to preserve the will of the people. Whether these 3 men should serve, that needs to be determined. I really think that the top 2 need to go right now. I think they're both unfit for office. And the third one, I think he's teetering on the edge. But Virginia needs to do something to make sure that the will of the people is actually recognized.
Do you think
that's something that has to be determined?
Hypocrisy is certainly not just a Democratic problem. There are a ton of hypocrites on the right, too.
Sure,
I know
absolutely.
A lot of them
I call it out every week on my radio
but
show.
But the intensity of the hypocrisy in the last week is kind of hard to ignore. So if you've appeared in blackface, you can't serve in public office, you can't stand on a public stage, you really need to be pushed outside of polite company. And now it turns out that all these prominent progressives have appeared in blackface. That's a pretty high level of hypocrisy. Have you noticed that, or am I just imagining it?
It's not all of these. It's 2 men in Virginia, and frankly, we don't want to replace.
It's Joy Behar, and it's okay, but it's a lot of the people who are the quickest to judge others turned out to have worn this blackface themselves. That doesn't. You don't notice a theme here, attacking people for what you do.
I think that there needs to be something done about the people who serve in public office. It's a higher calling than, and a higher standard than people who are entertainers and other things. We need to focus on that. We need to remove these people. We need to put people in there who care about Virginia and care about the values that these men were elected to defend. Voters of Virginia wanted people like them there because of what they said on the campaign about their values and governance. They did not know about their histories with women and with blackface and racism. Now they know it, and the voters of Virginia should be heard. And the voters of Virginia
I'm just getting. I just want to correct, and we're out of time, but I just want to get the final word and correct something. Yep. Apparently, Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii has called on Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax to resign.
And you'll hear more.
So she's consistent that way. Chris Hahn, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tucker.
So let's say these weren't three progressive Democrats at the helm of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but they were three conservative Republicans. What would that look like? Dan Bongino is a former congressional candidate, former Secret Service agent. He joins us tonight. So Dan, I mean, do you notice the political imperative overriding moral concerns here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very simple binary choice here, Tucker. Is it going to be power or is it going to be principle? If the standard here in your principles are, as the Democrats have stated, and I think a lot of people would agree that, listen, blackface is unacceptable in a position of public prominence. You have to go. You handle that on your own later, but you can't govern. Then Mark Herring has to go, the Attorney General, and the governor. That's the principle, right, Tucker? I mean, there's nothing I'm saying controversial.
That's their stated principle.
Exactly, but
for the record, I think it's ridiculous. I think calling for infanticide actually might make it impossible for you to govern because it's murder. Sure. Dressing up like an idiot or being a bigot in college is something that you should apologize for. I'm not sure that 35 years later it makes it impossible for you to govern, but whatever. But you're right. That's their standard, and they've stated it clearly.
They've been on the record that this is, but notice how it became a little more nuanced, Tucker, when they found out that the fourth person in line, the Virginia Speaker, is a Republican. Now all of a sudden there's a little more nuance in the argument. Again, is this binary or is it not? If it's about principles, which they've already stated openly, then you must call for both of them to resign. Now, talking about the number two, Justin Fairfax, the lieutenant governor. I mean, we went through this with Kavanaugh. If you've watched this station or any other cable news network, we went through this for 2 troubling weeks where I don't think there's a Democrat on the record actually defending Kavanaugh. So again, if the principle there is all women are to be believed, accusations are in fact enough evidence for you to leave, and that you have no right to defend yourself, then Tucker, this is all clear. The answers are clear as day by, as you stated, the Democrats' own on-the-record statements they've already made.
And I think that may be kind of percolating up to members of the Senate. Apparently, Kirsten Gillibrand has just on Twitter called for the resignation of Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. So we'll see what happens there. Dan Bongino, thank you very much.
You got it.
Good to see you tonight.